outside Benin. It was in Ogbomo's household that Agho came of age. By that time, he had become an adept at the trumpet. But Agho was destined to spend his adult life in Benin and not Igwivioba. Igwivioba is close to the present day Hussein. Now a young man of just over 25 years. Agho become, listen very well. This is Igbafe's work. Agho became involved with another man's wife in Igwivioba. So Agho, at the age of 25, went to sleep with another man's wife. Agho went to sleep. Agho Obaseki went to sleep with another man's wife. You understand? Then I have on here. James Watt, this is page 23, so I cannot read everything. James Watt did not immediately take a decision. He summoned Agho Obaseki, Chifeson, Chifezomo, Chifeo, and Obaseki. So the meeting that brought the Carmen's back, here I say, Odwe meeting, Agho Obaseki, Obaseki, Chifeo, Chifezomo, and Chifeson. They were 5. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you another breaking news. It was not only Agho or betray Benin people. Ezomo we deba. Oh, God damn it. Ezomo we deba. Wadayo. Ezomo deba. They should go and contest with book. They should leave Izoduwa. I don't do propaganda, I do fact. All right. Now, when we are also recommending and clapping for people who stood for the transition, when you call Ero Chifero, also be calling Chifeson. Please, a son should be added to the hero of this land. A son of that time stood with his king. You'll find that now. James Watt did not immediately take a decision. He summoned Agho Obaseki, Eson, Ezomo, Eho, and together with Obaseki to yet another interview to discuss the situation. Surprisingly, this time Obaseki answered in response to the question of who should be Oba, because he was asked who's supposed to be the Oba, and he was prepared to do anything the commissioner directed. So in anything Nebotama, he was ready to do it, as far as giving the power, he's giving the throne. He was backed by Ezomo. So Ezomo supported Agho Obaseki. Ezomo supported him. So he was backed by Ezomo, who said that even, look at how worse. He thought Ezomo was more terrible than Agho Obaseki. Look at what Dario. Ezomo of that time. When Ezomo of that time, Omabe Yoko, you know, I've always complained about that Ezomo. Okay, now look at what this Ezomo said. Another verse is Agho. Look at what he said. Okay. He was backed by Ezomo, who said that even if the commissioner decided that a woman should become the Oba, he will be ready to accept such an Oba. www.obaseki.org or obaseki.com. You people go and check it out. I don't know whether they have changed it, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I stumbled on the website. I think I stumbled on Undanagi Pedro Obaseki. It talked about their website. So I went to the website, and when I got to the website, I discovered they said that they were descendants of Oba Buddha. I faulted that history at that time. I did a video and I said that I do not fault that if you're Oba him, but you are not descendant of Oba Buddha, because I'm quite conversant with the history of the land. The history of the land had said Oba Buddha had 2 children, a male and a female, Princess Isiwa and Prince Odogbo, who had later become Oba Ohuan. But at that time, Oba Ohuan. So how then are you descendants of Oba Buddha, except Oviohu Wahin? That was how I queried their history at that time. But later on, I now found out that probably could have been a typographical error or whatever. They are descendants of Oba Orogboa. Oba Orogboa had a son called Prince Obano, who became the man who had established the Unsukwa kingdom, or again, in one dukedom, Amobomie. So it was a circumvent. I don't want to go through the history. I think in one of my class, I talked about it, making a comparison between the matter that happened in Iseluku concerning his achievement, concerning Enogie Ise, and making a similarity to Unsukwa. What happened? There were disparity between two brothers. Now, what was the issue? The issue was that one was born first, but Vabio, the issue prevailed. In short, this is the same issue when I want to address Prince Prince Osui, who said he's a descendant of Oswanlele. It was the same issue that happened at that time. Unsukwa, that Omonodion, the first son, Amariye, it was when the then king of Unsukwa was still a young man. Then along the line, when he now became more matured, he now married and gave birth to a second son. But when he died, the second son now said that the first son is an illegitimate child. So because of that, they all came to Benin. So Benin understanding, Benin understanding that they draw references from Iseluku, that two princes, the one that was judged to be the next king was asked to stay in Benin. Why that one went home and ransacked the palace, took everything from the palace and ran away to go and form a place now called Obio. Alright, it was the same similarity. So the Benin kings have devised means from past history, knowing fully well that two persons are involved. Now Agakwe the second one no maso egbe na be hame bari yogie unsukwa no ni be were be ari unsukwa we ya duza be na no ka we sunu we Iseluku. So he was retained and we na gege pa no stay yedo, or ana we no stay yedo, or ya do stay yedo. That is not the line that transmutes from Osifo Agwankana obi ogbede na be Oyo ogbede boy atie what ogbede Oyo yatie ogbede Oyo atie. All right, so ogbede Oyo yatie, so ogbede Oyo odo be abenike. So I just wanted to put that in the right perspective. Okay, no, don't.
Thanks for clicking on this channel. Please subscribe to Efo's blog history and click on the notification button so that whenever we upload a new video you will be notified. Was Agho Obaseki a good man? Mr. Izoduwa fact-checked Godwin Obaseki's claims about Agho Obaseki. In this video, Mr. Izoduwa is fact-checking Obaseki's claims that his great-grandfather saved the Benin monarchy. In this video, Mr. Izoduwa debunked the argument that Obaseki's family are not Benins. He said the Obaseki family are pure Benins. However, there was a time they migrated to Nsukwa in Antioquia South local government area of Delta State. The story of Obaseki's migration is a bit complicated, but Mr. Izoduwa explains it in this video. He talks about Prince Osui, who claimed to be the great-grandson of Oba Ramlin. Prince Osui is a hungry and pathetic fellow who is ready to do anything for money, Mr. Izoduwa stated. In Godwin Obaseki's meet and greet in Manchester, Prince Osui said Agho Obaseki didn't do anything wrong to Oba Ramlin. Mr. Izoduwa said he knows Osui, he is a very corrupt person, if given 200,000 naira, he will fight the Benin royal house. Professor Ngbefel did the most elaborate history of Agho Obaseki. He wrote 3 books on Agho Obaseki. The truth about what Professor Ngbefel wrote about Agho Obaseki is not pleasant at all. We all know that some aspects of history are not pleasant. According to the book written by Professor Ngbefel, read by Mr. Izoduwa, he said that at the age of 25, Agho Obaseki had already started sleeping with other people's wives in the village where he was living. It was Oba Ramlin, when he was still a prince, that rescued him from the village and brought him to Benin. He would have been killed in the village. Professor Ngbefel further stated that Agho Obaseki benefited greatly from Oba Ramlin, but in the end, he betrayed Oba Ramlin. The Oba gave him the title Obaseki and promoted him to the third position in the palace hierarchy. He also made him in charge of his trade. When Oba Ramwan was a prince, at his young age, he impregnated a young woman who gave birth to a son, and named him Agho Obaseki. Mr. Izoduwa talks about Agho Obaseki half-brother, Huswanlalel, as well as the rivalry between them. Why and how Agho got married to two Oba's daughters. Oba Elwelka II was forced to give his daughter to Agho, and not by tradition. Agho Obaseki was enjoying the British rule, but the majority of Benins were not. The Benins became determined to take back their throne and sovereignty, led by Agho Obaseki, the crown prince. The crown prince, Agho Obaseki, started mobilizing the Benins, both the ones in Benin city and villages, to liberate the Benin kingdom from British rule. The majority of the chiefs supported him. The mistake Agho Obaseki made was to inform Agho Obaseki of their plan and ask him to join them. Agho was already enjoying the British patronage. Agho went to inform the colonial government about the plan, and they crushed the movement. Is that not betrayal by Agho? Oba of Benin is the political, traditional and cultural head of the Benin people, so why should the Oba not play politics? The past and present Obas of Benin were involved in politics. In fact, no one can separate Oba of Benin from politics. It was Oba Akenzuwa II's involvement in politics that led to the creation of the Midwest region. This video is part 1, and watch out for part 2, as it is more than 3 hours long, so we decided to split it into 2. Please sit down and enjoy this explosive analysis from Mr. Izoduwa.
Why go? The materials is boom. So Obaseki should go and also provide his materials. I love when Mewaka Kabo like event. Alright? He said Agho did not betray. If not because of Agho, they wouldn't have been the monarch could not have existed. So we don't want to base issues. We don't want to base issues based on speculations. We want to base issues based on facts and sources. So those facts and sources is what some of us are going to provide. So or we provide a source of I will follow us again. I'm ready to go to. Only mommy, if do I'm ready to go to. So he had said we should fact check him. If Agho was a nice man, so I could have come now and give historical records. But now I don't want to do that. I want to be reading from texts, from books, so that it will be him against historical records, not him against Izoduwa. So it's going to be historical. But outside that, we're going to be. This is the first time I'm writing everything I'm talking about. So that near me say rock back. So our time will talk. You know, he read classics, all those Shakespearean literature, or TA. So I don't know when someone who read classics is now wanting to become. It's even a slap. It will be a slap. I'm a product of several indigenous historians. It's even a slap to their memory that we will allow someone who read classics. I will cause una apply. You have a law. Have a business admin. Omagi so bo. Have a nagi fee one fee. Egbeni ma be tie o. But so you cannot come out and say that you are the most intelligent Benin man. No doubt the Obaseki family is one of the most educated family in the canals of history of Edo State, not just Benin. One of the most educated family in Nigeria. But what is shocking to me, that family has produced retired Supreme Court justices, judges of the High Courts. produce medical doctors, produce lawyer par excellence, produce orators. None of them came out to now say that the history that has been passed on for generations, not take classics, or not take classics, or in your history self. All right, it's a very beautiful thing. You understand? So it's a very beautiful. Okay, land grabbing agwan canning later. Even boom, yeah, agwan can. All right, so there are quite a lot for some of us who just came. In his next meet and greet, in his next meet and greet, if you have anybody, you send this video to them. He asked us to fact check him in his next meet and greet. Please don't be a coward. Ask him some questions based on this my live video. You ask him some questions, so let it be fact checked. For the past 4 days, I've had sleepless nights. I've been trying to go through a lot of historical tests, and fortunately, some things that I used to know changed. You understand? Change. Some things that I used to know changed. There were things that they were historical that were not really historical. So I will talk about some of those things. Our course outline, our course outline today is quite much. The first one, I asked one. I just want to outline it out so that why I'm a battle, why I'm going, you understand? Every gig up by a lecturer. Me have with lecture series now. So the scope of discussion. All right. Epamasha did a video yesterday concerning the Obaseki family coming from Unsukwa. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit. Epamasha was not wrong, but there's some certain things. That is, I'm referring to Voice of Benin TV. It was not wrong. It's only a half story. All right. I want to complete the full story so that even a Pamasha will understand better that the Obasekis are not from originally Unsukwa. They have always been Benin people. Agho Mama Naya Gworivier. They have always been Benins. I think I've said this a couple of times. There are historical tests that backs up it up. When my late mentor was here alive, Dr. Ayasene Hago, so we had a wide range of these conversations. We talked about it, and he told me that during the late 80s, he had traveled to Unsukwa. He had made several inquiries. So if you want to get details of where they are from, how originally they are, you go and read Obaewa, the Great, written by Dr. Ayasene Hagosa. He talked so much about the ancestry of the Obaseki Meni Ayakba. Funny enough, if you're buying TV, funny enough, originally, funny enough. So we're going to talk about it. I'm just going to talk it in passing by, so that it's good we always put our history in right perspective. Then after that, we're going to talk about the next one. We're going to talk about is review of Prince Osui's allegation of Agho Obaseki good relationship with the royal house. Funny enough, the young man, knowing your Vorame, I know him very well. He used to be very tattered. He used to come to the Institute for Benin Studies while we were still at the back of the palace of the Oba of Benin. So we know him. We know his antecedents. So we talked about how he married, how they said that. I really didn't watch the video, so I don't know what they said. But Agho Obaseki married 2 daughters from the royal house. He married the daughter of Obavorame and also married the daughter of Obaiweka. All right. So we'll talk about Princess Oyimiame. Oh, ideo yari pare. I agree. I'm an alright. So, we're going to talk about Princess Onyame that was married, that Agho Obaseki married 1912 AD. They will also talk about Princess Ebose that was married 1918, and what were the issues that regarded to that marriage. We're also going to talk about that. Okay, we're going to talk about that. So that's to counter whatever Prince Osuyi talked about. So why I'm trying to do this scope of discussion, if there's anything left out, why tamame igbon yoto, you might need to understand why tamame. I'm going to write it down so that I touch all of it. Where some of you have also done research, where you are not too clear about, we're also going to talk about it. So why tamame, I add it to scope of discussion. Like I said, it's quite going to be very it's quite going to be a lengthy conversation. Then, so the third one, which is the major one, which is the reason why we are here, the third scope of conversation is Godwin Obaseki fact check on his allegation. So there, within that apparatus of Godwin Obaseki fact check on his allegation, we are going to talk about three things. The withheld salary that Niaya deceived here. I'm going to talk about it briefly. That probably I'm going to run through that one in 10-15 minutes. I'm going to give practical example. I'm going to run through that withheld salary. I'm just going to talk about, so that they didn't say I talked about a lot of things and I didn't talk about the salaries that were withheld and all of that. I'm going to talk about that. Then I'm also going to talk about, under that, I'm also going to talk, please remind me, all the scope. Under that, I'm also going to talk about politics. The policies I'm talking about is that the postulation that Oba of Benin gets involved in politics. All right? Oba of Benin gets involved in politics. So I'm going to also talk about that. So quickly, so to ginger us for what I want to talk about, that Oba of Benin getting involved in politics. The question I want to ask, so that by the time I get there, you people will have a whole lot to talk about, so people can prepare their question. So before I get to that area of politics that Oba of Benin or Baiwa is getting involved in politics, so I want to first of all throw this question out. So why Agboyoto? So why Agboyoto? Only. So you fact check. I want to also send message to their camp. Also fact check me. Since we lost our sovereignty in 1897, no Oba of Benin that has not gotten involved in politics. In short, Obas of Benin by birth are politicians. By birth. Anybody should fact check me. No Oba of Benin since, I'm talking about Bayaweka II, Oba Akenzwa II, Oba Erediawa, and the current Oba. No Oba. And don't forget, the Oba is the political, traditional, and administrative head of the Edo people. All right? So since we lost our sovereignty, when they started playing democratic, all right, during the reign of Bayaweka did autonomy in 1933. So am I independence? Am I really was when a politics argument? But be that as it be, the kind of colonial politics that played during when Oba Eweka II was crowned in 1914 to when Otonari Oru in 1933. And the colonial politics of Eweka will play. Then when you're not talking about the democratic politics after we got in our independence, Oba Akenzwa was a master of politics. All right? Oba Erediawa also play politics. We are going to look at all of that. So why shouldn't Oba Ewa play politics? When the Oba of Benin is the political head, the traditional, administrative, political, cultural head of the Edo people. So why shouldn't he play politics? So like I have said, let them fact check me. These are facts. These are facts. I challenge them to name any Oba from creation or that has never played politics. So we want to start dealing. We are no longer, they said we should start dealing with facts. We want to start dealing with facts. So that is what Izoduwa have said. There is no Oba Benin that has never got involved in politics, that doesn't play politics. Anybody can fact check me. Oba Erediawa. Should we not be remind them what was the Ibinediamwe Egwari Kotiba? What was the culmination of Oyegumedia? Well, all of those things not politically undertuned. So we're going to talk about that. During the time of Obaredawa, you were hearing the Esogban's announcement on political matters. Abi, oh, Amiamia, Abi any politics? Okay. So why should Obaiwa be so Obaiwa want to be, you people want to now boss him to a corner. On a politics in Egwania play moving forward. So, like I said, fact check. Don't talk briefly. We are talking about facts. So if any of you comes out, if Obaseki comes out, or any of you, when I mean most of his following are year school. So if any of you come out to fact check and come out and say the Tory, then we'll enter history. So Yasevana will give more details. We'll give more details about that, right? Then that is Roman figure 1. Then Roman figure 2 will not talk about history. The history that is said that without Agho Obaseki, the Benin monarchy would have come to an end. Or he wanted to say, boy, that Agho Obaseki wanted to end the Benin monarch or the Benin monarchy. That Agho had to end there in but he now reversed it. So we're also going to look at that with facts. That is the that is what's going to take longer time. That probably will take like an hour. Then number 4, we're going to talk about Godwin Obaseki meet and greet, the hidden agenda of his meet and greet. All right, I want to expose a lot of things about him. Every single prediction I've done about this man 5 years ago, 4 years ago, go and check all my videos or where you are. So you are ready with another prediction. What his intents are. There's a greater intention. All right, there's a greater intention. It's not the talking about the palace was just a distraction. It has an intention. We're going to talk about that. The hidden agenda strategy to dissolve it, because it's not about getting an agenda. The strategy to also dissolve it. We're also going to talk about that. Then we have to re-strategize. All right, and the concept of the Ogyomba tag, we have to look at that. The pro-palace re-strategy, we have to re-strategize. Our strategies currently, they are not giving results. I also want to say how we are going to get results. So that's going to be the 5th thing we are going to talk about. Now, the 6th one is quite very important. It's the palace and Okpewolo, a unity that should never be broken. Because when I'm talking about the meet and greet, there is a sinister agenda of Obaseki to come in between the palace and Okpewolo. That is the futuristic game. Actually, that's his plan B. His plan A, I will talk about his plan A, I will talk about his plan B. So there I'm going to talk about, in all that happens, we must ensure that the palace and Okpewolo must never quarrel. And I will tell you the advantages and the disadvantages that's going to come from it. All right? So I think these are the scope. It's quite lengthy. So these are the scope. So let's start. Okay. Yeah, I want to make it. A Pamasha, voice of Benin, I see him, is right here. He talked about the Obaseki coming from Nsukwa. That is correct. But that is when a cycle, what you call a cycle, wherever you meet a cycle could be the beginning or the ending. All right. So the concept of the grandfather of Agho or the great grandfather of Agho coming from Nsukwa, it's an half cycle phenomenon. There is a full cycle. All right. Originally, uswe iviedo nikpa no edo inya they went to establish. In short, according to Dr. Aishen Hagwosa, about one of the sons of Obarugba, who was called Prince Obano. Don't forget, 5 years ago, say 5 years ago, no, that 5 years ago, I had queried. You know, they have www.obaseki.org or obaseki.com. You people go and check it out. I don't know whether they have changes, but about 5 years ago, I stumbled on the website. I think I stumbled on Undanage Pedro Obaseki. It talked about their website. So I went to the website, and when I got to the website, I discovered they said that they were descendants of Oba Ehengbuda. I fought that history at that time. I did a video and I said that I do not fault that if you're Oba him, but you are not descendant of Oba Ehengbuda. Because I'm quite conversant with the history of the land. The history of the land had said Oba Ehengbuda had 2 children, a male and a female, Princess Isiwa and Prince Odogbo, who had later become Oba Ohuan. But at that time, Oba Ohuan. So how then are you descendants of Oba Ehengbuda except Oviohu Wahin? That was how I queried their history at that time. But later on, and I found out that probably could have been a typographical error or whatever. They are descendants of Oba Orogboa. Oba Orogboa had a son called Prince Obano, who became the man who had established the Unsukwa kingdom, or again, he went dukedom, Amobomie. So it was a circumvent. I don't want to go through the history. I think in one of my class, I talked about it, making a comparison between the matter that happened in Iseluku concerning Ezechimen, concerning Enogie Ise, and making a similarity to Unsukwa. What happened? There were disparity, Ezowa Rekbo, between 2 brothers. Now, what was the issue? The issue was that one was born first, but Vabio, you know, the issue prevailed. In short, this is the same issue when I want to address Prince Nategbe, Prince Osui, who said he's a descendant of Oswanlele. It was the same issue that happened at that time, Unsukwa, that Omonodion, the first son, Amariye, it was when the then king of Unsukwa was still a young man. Then along the line, when he now became more matured, he now married and gave birth to a second son. But when he died, the second son now said that the first son is an illegitimate child. So because of that, they all came to Benin. So Benin understanding, Benin understanding that they draw references from Iseluku, that 2 princes, the one that was judged to be the next king was asked to stay in Benin. Why nabe hamebari ogie? That one went home and ransacked the palace, took everything from the palace and ran away to go and form a place now called Obio. All right, it was the same similarity. So the Benin kings have devised means from past history, knowing fully well that 2 persons are involved. Now agakwe the second one no maso egbe na be hamebari riogie unsukwa no ni be were gbe ari unsukwa o be ya duza ne no ka we sunu Iseluku. So he was retained, and I be no stay yedo, or I not stay yedo, or ya do stay yedo. That is not the line that transmutes from Osifo Agwankana Obi Ogbede na be Oyo Ogbede Boyatie what Ogbede Oyo yatie Ogbede Oyo atie. All right, so Ogbede so I just wanted to put that in the right perspective. Okay, no, don't get distracted. Don't get distracted about them. Let them listen. Let them learn. All right, like I have said, this is about fact checking. It's about he asked us to fact check him, so we are going to fact check him. So I'm just doing the preambles. So the Obasekis are pure Benin people, like I've established. So we'll go in details later. Epa Masha. Unsukwa yankiri, but Inyaka from Eduka, Unsukwa yankiri. It's just like if anybody now comes from Iseluku tomorrow, from the Useluku Palace tomorrow, and now stayed in Benin after a few years, and after some years, Iyase. It's the same story. It's the same story. They have always been Benin right from inception. So I wanted to put that in check. I think we've talked about that in Makoni. But if there are other questions, we'll ask that. Question number 2. Review of Prince Osui allegation of Agho Obaseki. Good relationship with his good relationship with the royal house. Okay. Now let's talk about Prince Osui. Prince Osui, knowing a great grandchild of Obavon is a scallywag. When I don't hear scallywag, is a scallywag, and hungry, pathetic fellow. Is an hungry, pathetic fellow. Again, you know that we are institute to be a kegwa. All you want me for me. All you want me for me. You understand? All you want me for me. So there is an historical grievance in his heart because Amakwe ne era no warioba. If truly is a grandson of Uswanlele, if truly is a grandson of Uswanlele, let me not tell you why I got here. When I could 200,000 on it, he will fight the royal house because of the historical antecedent. And I'm going to tell you now, just in case a lot of you people really didn't understand the life and times of Prince Izoduwa. All right, Izoduwa becoming Obavaraman. After he became Obavaraman, he had as a young prince, as Omonorowa, as a young prince, as Omonorowa or senior prince. Again, am I mad that so at a very tender age, young age, let me not use the word tender. At a very young age, he impregnated a lady. And that lady gave birth to Prince Agho Obaseki. Alright? Gave birth to Prince Agho Obaseki. So when he now became a more matured man, alright? I'm sorry if I'm not using the right words, but when he now became more matured, I think it's a proper word. When he now became more matured, that is when he now married. And when he married, the woman now gave birth to Uswanlele, Prince Uswanlele. Alright. So everybody knows that Obavaraman had 6 children. No bia yedo, no bia isi, no bia isima, any boom, any boom. But the ones that he gave birth before the unfortunate episode of 1897, there were 6, 3 male and 3 female. The first child being Crown Prince Agho Obaseki. The second being Uswanlele. For the male. The third for the male was Princess Igie. Then for the female, the first was Princess Eva Havokun. The second was Princess Omono. While the third was Princess Oimiame. Alright? Alright? Princess Oimiame. That was it. That was the third daughter. So there were all 6, 3 male, 3 male, 3 female. These were the 6 children of Obavaraman. Now, again, ebodo weminia and all of that. Even before the episode of 1897, Uswanlele was already contesting. I'm going to read some chapters for you people. Uswanlele was already contesting because there was a message that Obavaraman sent from Calabar telling some of the British district officers that they should ensure that Agho Obaseki is crowned. Because probably before he left Benin, he already knew there was a rivalry between 2 siblings. What Uswanlele was saying was that Agho Obaseki was an illegitimate child. By Benin traditions and custom, you know that I'm an illegitimate child. Do you understand? So, as Uswanlele was already angry that Agho Obaseki, by that virtue, don't let him distract you people. Leave him. Concentrate. You people concentrate on history. concentrate on history. So I mean legitimate child, though Benin does not have such traditions and custom. I mean legitimate child, though. So Agho Obaseki was very clear, because the age difference between Agho Obaseki, why we call Larry. Oh, so sorry, a call came through, and one more, do not disturb. The calls will not start coming. So I that's when so they are not illegitimate children according to the history of Edo people. All right. So the descendant of Nswalele has always had that pain till now. So if he's talking from pain, because a troni Omasiyabo awoji yahin yate I use oji amoba esa morioba oji Omasiyabo, and funny enough, Nswalele died at a very young age. You people should go and find that. He died very why will sorry, calls are disturbing it, but no, network, a call Larry, but I've told the person I'm going to call the person back. So please so like I was saying, don't get distracted, it's them, let them bring their evidence. We're going to deal with fact. Am I sworn? Oh, every day. Am I sworn? So the pain that Ekete Masu Nswalele Obo is where that useless Prince Osuyi might not take by him. Or a dignity now. Or a dignity and throw it. There was an historical rivalry between Nswalele and Agho Obaseki, and that was the reason why they had a life, and that was why they had that rivalry. But how can you, when I am older than you with almost 10 years, then because I married you automatically, so that's the pain. So when he's talking from pain. All right. But he also made issues that he also allegedly said some historical fact. It is true that Agho Obaseki married 2 princesses. And I will tell you the reason why. It is not even the reason that we used to know. By nature, every first daughter of the Oba of Benin, senior princesses must marry, is compelled to marry the Iyase. All right, that is tradition. But don't forget, I'm going to prove much later that Agho Obaseki is not an Iyase by tradition. I'm going to prove. You understand? Because the law states that the first daughter of the Oba of Benin must marry a traditionally elected Iyase. Agho was never. And who chooses an Iyase? The Oba of Benin. Agho, by the virtue of this live video, Agho was never an Iyase. It was a British Iyase. And I'll prove it. Oba Oz Iyase. Oba Oz Ozogie. Oba Ozogie. Oba Iyase. But I'll prove that it was not the Oba that appointed Agho as Iyase. Everything is in books. So that means Agho is not liable to get the first daughter of an Oba, except there was a reason. And I will also show you people the reason. So it was not because of tradition. That was why Eweka gave his first daughter, Princess Ebose, to Agho. It was frustration. Frustration. Not tradition. Tradition. Agi is a frustrato viere. With the threat that he would be deposed, that the way his father was deposed. In order to pacify the wicked Agho, he gave a Bose to him. Do you understand? I'll prove it. So Agho is not an Iyase by tradition. It's not by tradition. I'm going to prove it. So when they are saying that two princesses married, an auntie and a niece, we are also going to look at that. So I'm going to prove that. Please remind me to talk about much later on that Ebose matter. Let me go to the Mekoko while we are here. Let me just go to the history. Then cut the history naked hotel with head salary and politics. Then cut the history. Then you know what tona. You know what tona. Then what history. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it has gone to a time where we are not going to be speaking arbitrarily. We are going to be speaking based on evidences on books. Now, there are two things that I want to talk about. There are two things there are two reasons why I had to bring a lot of books. Now, I already have in my study library, I already have books written by Benin historians, ranging from Professor Eno Mosuzi, called The Benin Kingdom, a century after British invasion. That's a Benin man. To the Benin City Pilgrimage Station by my mentor, Dr. Aishen Ehagosa. That's another Benin man. The History of Benin, Jacob Wade Agarewa. That's another Benin man. Uzama and the Benin Monarchy, written by the current Iyase of Benin, Sam O.U. Igbe. That's another Benin man. But I now said to myself, because these people are very tricky, they will say, what if because of OU, now we do one die Agho or now okay, let me look for another man who is not a Benin man, which is Professor Igbafe. Igbafe did the most elaborate history. In short, he wrote 3 books on Agho Obaseki. He wrote 3 books on Agho Obaseki. So now, okay, let me add Igbafe to it. So most of the things I'm going to be reading are excerpts because he did one of the most chronological. And let me tell you, Igbafe never liked till when Dr. Aishen Ehagosa was still alive, when the Institute for Benin Study, when we did a book launch, just hold on. Do. When my late mentor was still alive, the Institute of the Benin Studies came up with this book. Look at it. That's Dr. Aishen Ehagosa. Benin Studies under the Scalpel. Essays in honor of Dr. Ehagosa Aishen. Igbafe was there. And when I met with him, I had asked that some of the books that you wrote, you were very critical of the palace. So Igbafe was one historian who never really liked the palace. So there's no way he could have written any book in favor of the palace. In short, if you read some of his works concerning Agho Obaseki, he tried to defend him. But it was too obvious as a matter of fact that he couldn't defend him. You understand that he couldn't defend him. So it's not a matter of these are palacentric. Almost all the historians here were not palacentric. Obviously, you know, Jacob Wade Agarewa was not palacentric. Dr. Aishen Ehagosa wrote so many things that I had to challenge him. And he said that I am a scientist by nature. Scientists, we will need to put two evidences. There was a time there's a particular part of one of his work in Elegbe that he wrote in favor of the Ogiame. I had to ask him at that he wrote according to what the Ogiames told him, and he also wrote according to what the General Benin told him. So he put both of them aside so that any Benin man can see the truth. From the 2 stories, from the 2 sides. You read the 2 stories, you find out the truth yourself. So it was not a palacentric story. Neither was Omosuzi. Maybe probably Samigbe, who is the chief in the palace, could have been palacentric. That's the only person that is palacentric in all of the discourse. So I wanted to establish that. So now, we are going to do the first work we are going to do is on Agho Obaseki. We are going to be reading. There's a book in it. That book is out of print. I have the soft copy. If you want the full book, I'll send it to you. I have the full book. It's out of print. You can't get it anywhere. So luckily we have some copies at the institute. So I had to make photocopies, but I have the soft copies. So now this is Iba first work it was a monologue called Agho Obaseki. Now we are going to read what he said about the background from page 1, that's page 3, that's page 2, 3, 4, and 5. So these will be the first 4 pages because we need to look at the background of who Agho Obaseki was. So from there, it will give us more strength for us to look at several other things. All right. So we read. Why die? I'm going to extract quite a lot of things here. In the year 1897, Benin was invaded by the British. The palace of the Oba of Benin was badly damaged, and the Oba himself was forced to flee. Later, the Oba surrendered to the British. He was tried and exiled. The invasion of Benin and the trial and deportation of the Oba ushered in British colonial rule in Benin. The story this book tells is that of one of the most powerful figures in Benin during the colonial period up to 1920. His name was Chief Obaseki, paramount chief of Benin from 1898 to 1914, and then Yasen of Benin from 1914 till his death in 1920. The name of the man known as Chief Obaseki was Agho. His father, Ogbede, at the time of his death, held the Benin title of Ine under the Oba Adolo. The Ine is the head of the Palace Society of Ibiwe and is responsible for looking after the Oba's harem. This society provides and maintains the houses for the Oba's wives. A smaller group within the Ibiwe society under the Oshodi looks after the personal welfare of the Oba's wives, provides them with escorts when they leave the palace, and settles any dispute between them. From the nature of these duties, it is obvious that only trustworthy persons were allowed to belong to this society. And the appointment of the Ine was a mark of the trust the Oba had in the person he so appointed. Ogbede's grandfather, Emohwa, was the son of an Onogi of Unsukwa. Agho was thus descended not only from a family that had produced an Enogi, village or town head, but also a family that had been honored by the Oba. Agho was thus born of a titled family. This fact is often forgotten when people speak of Obaseki's later career, because his rise to power depended first upon the Oba's favor and then on the support of the British. People tend to see him as a nobody who rose to the office of chieftaincy. It is proper to stress that Agho descended from no family of commoners. In the period before it became the rule that the eldest son of the Oba of Benin should succeed his father. There were bitter struggles among the Oba's sons as to which of them should become Oba. These struggles often led to severe fighting which disturbed the peace of the kingdom. Even after the rule had been accepted that the eldest son should succeed the father, there was still trouble. Arising from disputes as to who was first son, this was because the Oba had many wives and a number of these wives might have had children at about the same time. It was during this disturbed Benin that Agho fathers, Ogbede, made his first contact with the Benin royal family. This was during the reign of Oba Asemede. There was a civil disturbance in Benin at the time as some of the Oba's brothers were fighting for his throne. The disturbances became so unbearable that Oba Asemede decided to flee from Benin to Ewohimi. During this journey at a village called Ike, I've explained it. The village, now Ogbede Oyo, no Obaseki Kere, is called Ike Nisi. Ike Nisi. At Yewoni. At present day Uhonde. So all of you asking, Yewonokere, I heard now that he did not do anything. 8 years spent. He could not even tar one road in his own village. Now he's calling himself a Benin City boy. A Benin, you are not from Benin City, Uhonde Okere, Wakere. So why are we here? Uhonde Wodo, Wakere, because that is actually the original village. Ewayakere. Igwe, why Igwe. You people should go. I heard that is even trying to tar road now to Ike. That is the original village. Yeah. All right. I even know the history more than your father. Use Junior Dinyiwe. Everywhere Aragon and Ado Iragun. Imo to time my struggle do. All right. So this one I'm reading from a book. Don't worry. So I'm sure that Igbafe, you are also more knowledgeable than Igbafe. This was during the reign of Obaseki. There was a civil disturbance in Benin. Okay, I think I've read that. The disturbances became so unbearable that Obaseki decided to flee from Benin to Evuhimi. During this journey, at a village called Ike in the Akugbe area near Abudu, the Oba took Ogbaide, then only a boy, as a sword bearer, Umuada. After some time, peace returned to Benin. Obaseki was once again able to return to his capital. Once on his throne again, the Oba decided to promote Ogbaide by making him what in Benin is known as, I think, let me skip all this. Okay, because it's quite long. By this time, Ogbaide had grown into a man with his own family. Ogbaide married several wives soon after he was elevated to the rank of Uronisen. He wanted to write Uronisen. By these wives, he had many children, of whom the eldest was Obakbolo, others were Odige, Ozuwa, Oviawi, Ogbomo, Edokbolo, Saigeole, and the subject of our story, Agho himself. It looks as if Agho was one of Ogbaide's last children. Agho's mother, okay, I think it's Enome Huen, was carrying Agho. Listen, this is when the Agho story started. Start paying attention and going somewhere. All right. Enome Huen was carrying Agho in her womb when she left for Oha in Iyekovia, where Agho was born. Agho never knew his father, for Ogbaide died before Enome Huen returned from Benin to Benin City. Returned with him to Benin City. Before Ogbaide died, however, he rose to a higher rank during the reign of Oba Adolo. He became the Inen Nibiwe. He was also charged with the responsibility of looking after Idubowa, who was to become the Oba of Oramen. Idubowa lived with Ogbaide till the latter's death. On his death, Idubowa decided to go elsewhere. He went to live with one Ogagun. I will explain. Okay, to break it down, is the network not good? To break it down, what they are saying is that Vijay Agho, Agho. How do I put it? When Agho mother was pregnant with the child called Agho, he left Benin and went to somewhere Yekovia. So that was where Agho was born. And before the mother took that child back to Benin, his father Ogbaide had already died. So Agho never really knew his father. But don't forget, Agho's father was a caretaker as Ineni Biwe of Idubowa. But when he now died, Idubowa had to leave. Idubowa left Agho's compound and went to stay with another chief, which was called Chief Ogagun. Some of you might not know Chief Ogagun. I think in one of the stories I talked about that, because later on Chief Ogagun was put to death because there was a conspiracy that Ogagun was conspiring to kill Prince Idubowa. Chief Ogagun wanted to poison Prince Idubowa. Oh, Ninadove. It's another story for another day. Oh, Ninadove. Adolo had to, a death penalty was spent on Chief Ogagun, and Chief Ogagun was killed. It's another story in Benin. So, for some of you who do not know Chief Ogagun, Chief Ogagun's house was at is at the present day St. Matthew's. It can be St. Matthew's here. Why Chief Ogagun so that means it was two people that actually took care of Prince Idubowa. Idubowa was taken care by Ine Nibiwe, who was the father of Agho, and Chief Ogagun. Before he left there, on a area that is Chifero at Ubi. He actually didn't go to a Daken. Prince Idubowa was one of the Obas that didn't go to Uselu, to do the Dakenship. Just in case some of you are not aware, Urubi or Onawoge, one of the few Obas, maybe one or two, or Maju Selu Urubi Onawoge, because he was with his grandfather around the quarter of his grandfather, Eranobiye, who is a doctor of Eo. Alright? So now, this is where the Agho story. Alright? This is where Oga's story so this is where the story is very, very important. When Agho was brought to Benin City after the death of his father, he was put under the care of an elder brother, Izoduwa. While with Izoduwa, he joined the family in farming for a living. Agho did not, however, enjoy very good health. So he was not having a very good health. Frequent illness led to him being transferred to the care of another brother, Ogbomo. All of you can, if some of you do not know Ogbomo, Ogbomo is one of the sons of Ogbede. He's the patriarch of the popular Agho Obaseki family. All right, so the patriarch of the Agho Obaseki family was called Ogbomo, was one of the sons of Ogbede, the elder brother to Agho. So because he was always having health issues, I went to stay with his other brother called Ogbomo. Ogbomo lived in a village of Izoduwa. So once again, Agho found himself living outside Benin. It was in Ogbomo's household that Agho came of age. By that time, he had become an adept at the trumpet. But Agho was destined to spend his adult life in Benin and not Izoduwa. Izoduwa is close to the present day Hussein. Now a young man of just over 25 years. Agho become, listen very well. This is Igbafe's work. Agho became involved with another man's wife in Izoduwa. So Agho, at the age of 25, went to sleep with another man's wife. Agho went to sleep. Agho Obaseki went to sleep with another man's wife. You understand? So this point that I have raised, there is in order to substantiate this point that I have raised, I will go further on. As time progresses, I also bring another thing. The Benichis accused that if most of the children not biene, if when he became of age again in British look at at the age of 25, he was already sleeping with other people's wives, according to Igbafe. All right, Agho became involved with another man's wife in Izoduwa. In those days, to get involved with another man's wife was a very serious thing. If in case you think I'm lying, I will send you the book. The book is Igbafe called Agho. Igbafe's work called Agho Obaseki. I mean page 3. Page 3 metina. So our lawyer on her at a very young age. Agho found himself extremely unpopular with everyone. Life in the village became really impossible for him. So he decided to go back to Benin City and try to settle down all over again. In Benin, Agho got in touch with the future of Vorame. The crown prince was only too glad to take Agho, son of his former guardian Ogbede, under his protection. So the only crime that you will later discover that was the only crime Prince Izoduwa ever committed in this life was loving Agho. You will find that the sacrifices and the things that the sacrifices that Prince Izoduwa made for Agho. So please, some of you who have dictionary, now I want you to, whether it's Oxford or Webster or whatever, you open your dictionary now, so that you can open the meaning of, I don't know the meaning of betrayer and traitor. All right. So why kia? Because I already say so that you people will read it to me what betrayal means, because I don't know. So that we'll not look at Vorame and made him who he was, whether it was betrayal. Then whether Vorame, whether one was treachery. So we want to look at the definition based on the background. They tell you who was protecting of the throne or betraying the throne. We have to look at all of that. So why a dictionary? So that what the definition of what it takes to be a traitor or a betrayer. You people will show me that one. Now, he was very happy now to see the son of his guardian. This was the beginning of Agho's relationship with the prince, who was to become Oba Vorame. This relationship, which began as one of the close friendship, was to end on a note of hostility. The reason for this change is to be found in the story of Agho. Look at it. Look at what Igba first said. He said this relationship, which began as one of close friendship, was to end on a note of hostility. Close friendship, but okay, we'll know how it ended. The reason for this change is to be found in the story of Agho's career, which will be related in this book. A few years after Agho was given protection by the crown prince, he began to engage in trade for him. In about 1888, the prince became Obavorame. Agho had a great advantage over ordinary Benin traders because he was acting for the royal house. He could trade in products like palm oil and cannons, which were often monopolized by the Oba, because Oba owns Oba Obweki, Oba Yankee. So because he had Dweki Oba, it became excessively advantaged that you cannot compete with the Oba in terms of market. So it now became comparatively advantaged, and because of that, it became stupidly wealthy based on the favor that he has found from the royal house. All right. In return of this and other products, he received European goods like rum, matches, and salt, fine clothes, silks, and other imported goods. The center of this trade was Uoton, the port of Benin in those days. In this trade, Agho proved himself to be a man gifted with energy and great organizing ability. He worked hard and knew how to handle the men in his charge. It was not surprising, therefore, that in few years he had established himself as an extremely wealthy trader who made profits for the Oba as well as for himself. The same energy, ability, and devotion to duty which won success for him as a trader were to win him high office after the British took Benin in 1897. Now, look at it. I posted this one yesterday. It was natural that the Oba should take note of the ability, devotion, and success of Agho. Agho won the love and confidence of the Oba, just as his father had won the love and confidence of both Obaseki and Oba Adolo. So, the crime of the royal house was loving the lineage of Agho. He became the head servant of the Benin royal house and began to settle minor disputes in the household. He received special favors from the Oba, such as the gift of his first wife. Now, Obavorame was the one who married the very first wife. Now, go home, Obavorame. And the name of that woman was called Etuhun. I'm going to go to the works of Isien. I'm going to read from Isien's work later on. You also discover that it was not just Etuhun that Obavorame gave to Agho. He also married another woman called Edugie. Edugie Nyobe Gaius, who also, we're going to talk about that some other time. So Etuhun was the one who gave birth to the first son, Agbedo, the first son of Agho, Nori Obaseki. You see the one I'm calling it, I'm not saying Agho Obaseki because Obaseki is not his son name. It was a title given to him by the Oba of Benin, and that title was created for the purpose for him. And I will tell you why that title was created. Let's move on. He received special favors from the Oba, such as the gift of his first wife, Etuhun. The giving of Etuhun to Agho's wife was only a beginning. It is one of the rights of any Oba of Benin who ascend the throne to fill vacant titles as well as to create new ones and fit these new titles into the various palace societies. The Oba also decided the seniority of the new titles in the various palace societies. I hope you guys understand. Taking advantage of this right, Obavorame created the title of Obaseki. Obaseki was originally not a title. Obaseki was originally not their name. Any title no. All right. A title no, just like every other title chief. Do claim The Oba also decided the seniority of the new titles in the various palace society. Taking advantage of this right, Obavorame created the title of Obaseki and bestowed it on Agho in 1889. The title was in recognition not only of Agho's success in trade, but also his devotion to the Oba. Now look at the meaning of the title. The meaning of the title is that Oba's favor was much more valuable than mere success in trade. Do you understand what it means? Oba's favor. Since Egi Oba talk by guitar, like some people are suggesting, Edoga talk by. So many are Oba ni ye niare do yeva Edo Seki. So, ladies and gentlemen, from today henceforth, their name now is not Edo Seki. Obaseki. Okay, because they no longer find favor in the hands of the Oba. They have not found favor in the hands of the Edo. So let them remove Oba. So let them put Edo there. So I get Oba talk when I get Oba Edo talk back, no wahala. So Oba ni already yani. Let them remove it. Because yani. So Edo Obaseki is not their new name. So they even betray their own son name. Exactly. So today henceforth, they should not be regarded, that family should not be regarded as Obaseki. So when I got Bati Veje, Edoze for Abat, Egi Obaze, since Edo, Edoze, very well. We that love it, let them leave it for us. The Obaseki would therefore, okay, the meaning of the title is that the Oba's favor was much more valuable than mere success in trade. Now, listen, there's something I want to say now. Listen to what Igbafe want to see. There's a secret. Orema, listen. The Obaseki would therefore be well advised. Look at it. The Obaseki would therefore be well advised to remain loyal to the Oba if he sought to enjoy continued prosperity. I want you people to open your mind. You understand? I want you people to open your mind. I want you to listen. There's a secret here. Now, they were advised. Did you ask who advised them? Ask Eli for another day. But listen, the Obaseki would therefore be well advised to remain. It was not the royal house that advised them. They went for a divination. So he was well advised. The Obaseki would therefore be well advised to remain loyal to the Oba if he sought to enjoy continued prosperity. That is why that name, they knew the power that name carries. That is why I'm seeing Nini till now. That's why I'm saying there's a secret there. So why Azio Karina Ninita? Now, thereafter, the name Agho virtually disappeared as it became known as Obaseki. It's surreptitiously, because there's a power that surrounds the success. The secret of the success of the family is on that name. The secret of the success of that family is on that name. That's why they will never change it. Most of them don't even know. Okay. They are saying, so, let me proceed. Having created the title of Obaseki, the Oba put the title into the Wegwa society. Listen, look at the favor, so much favor that Oba, the royal, has did for these traitors. Having created the title of Obaseki, the Oba put the title into the Wegwa society. The Wegwa title holders were responsible for the domestic work of the royal household, and as such were very close to the Oba's person. Obaseki not only became an Iwegwa title holder, he was also made the fourth most senior title holder in the palace society. The former title holder, Omanotiare number 4 of Iwegwa, because of the love of Orame had for these traitors, Ona stepped Chief Ehanire down. Oba creates a title and can also determine the position. We determine where the title will belong to, and we also determine where the position. So in the case, the Obaseki title would have been probably in the 15th position or in the 16th position. But the position, Neobamune, was 4th. Originally, that position is occupied by a title called the Ehanire title. Oba needed to step Ehanire down so that he can elevate this guy in question, who later betrayed him and his household. He elevated him because of the love he had for him and gave him 4th position. Now look at what now happened. The former title holder, Ehanire, was thus pushed further down. Ehanire resented his demotion. And the Oba had to pay him compensation. So that because of the love he had. The love Akenzwa the first also had for this man, the Ezomo. What's the guy? Yeah. Also the love. No way elevated Zomo over Chifeo, a joy. So it was the same love. So Ehanire resented his demotion, and the Oba had to pay him compensation before he would accept the situation. Obaseki had already started to make enemies for himself through the favors he enjoyed from the Oba, because he had enjoyed so much favor. The royal house has blessed him too much. As Obaseki thus became an important figure at court, it was necessary that his own household should show evidence of his importance. Now that Omo has promoted him, listen, you see how the royal house showed these people love. All the royal house have done was to show these people. Now that Omo has not protected him, he's not a big man. But in the old days, you cannot be a big man. You cannot be a big man. Because of Vienna, not get big. Look at what Obavorame did again for Agho. As Obaseki thus became an important figure at court, it was necessary that his own household should show evidence of his importance. In those days, a man's position in society was often measured in terms of the size of his family, the number of his slaves, and the extent of his farm settlement. To help Obaseki establish his position, the Oba made him a gift of 100 slaves, captives of war. The more the Oba showered gifts on Obaseki, the closer the friendship and love between the two became. Wadameyo, are you guys listening? Then, page 5. It is one of the ironies of the history of Benin that this same, look at what Ikpafe said. Ezomo Henwa, thank you. Look at what Ikpafe said. After all these things that Ovorame has done, look at what Ikpafe said. He said, it is one of the ironies of the history of Benin that this same Obaseki was to seek to usurp the powers of the Oba in the period from about 1900 to 1920 before he died. He died in 1920. Look at what Ikpafe said. Haven't done all these things. A Prince Dugbowa onado rescue onado mwanswenki onado adwekine. He made him a rich man. He created a title for him, the title of Obaseki. Then elevated this, I put him at Iwegwa and elevated the title to number 4. And okay, title when you are not a big man, by virtue of being a big man, okay, we are 100 of Vienna, and after all of that, look at what Ikpafe said. It is one of the ironies of the history of Benin. Ironies. That it is one of the ironies of the history of Benin that this same Obaseki was to seek to usurp. Godwin Obaseki said that without our Obaseki, there would not have been Benin monarchy. But look at what Ikpafe said. Ikpafe said, Professor Ikpafe, a reputable historian, look at what he said. He said, it is one of the ironies of the history of Benin that this same Obaseki was to seek to usurp, not to strengthen, not to preserve, but to usurp the powers of the Oba in the period from about 1900 to 1920. That is what Ikpafe said. We are coming back to Ikpafe. Let's go to Tona. A small paper, will blow for. Where's my small paper? Where's my small paper? Oh, can you have a page here now? Okay. Okay. Let's go to Benin City Procurement Center. Let's look at what Dr. Aisha Hagosa had to say on this matter. We have heard from Ikpafe. We are coming back to Ikpafe. But let's go to Benin City Procurement Center. Let's also listen to them a little bit. Why go on Benin Pilgrimage, page 52 to 53. Some of you have the book. You can follow me and read. Let's look at what happened on page 52 and 53. Okay, I'm just going to read few places out. Okay. On page 52 of the Benin Pilgrimage written by Dr. Aisha Hagosa, go to paragraph 1, 2, 3. Paragraph 3. Look at what Dr. Aisha Hagosa said. Based on Abesini Bafeta, the Ibina Vora Meuna or Myfo, ne Ibafe Henny Enyata or Mayefo. Look at what Dr. Aisha Hagosa also said. Uswense ne the royal house ne Agho. The house where he stayed is still standing and inhabited, though for the most part not derelict. It is number 10 Ekpenede Street. It once belonged to a citizen who died childless during the early years of the reign of Oba Ovorame. The Oba inherited the property and then gave it to one of his favorite servants, Agho. Look at it. The first house that Agho ever had in Benin, Obawe Yane. Only Wuyani, I tell Wuyani. The Mwati I am Wuyani, Oria. It's not their own. Since you have a Guayo. So that their property are number 10 at Benedict. So what Agho is saying is the first house I will ever had. The same of Vorama Yane. The first house he ever had. What are the Oba inherited the property and then gave it to one of his favorite servants, Agho, who was his agent in the waterside trade with the Shekiris and the Europeans. On occasion, let me leave there. Now, I'm going back to page 53 now. You come back to paragraph, the second paragraph. He had his first son, Agbedo. You know, in the works of Ibafe said the first wife of Agho was betrothed to him by Obavorame. Now, Agho Safodali said that it was not just only one wife that Ovorame gave to Agho. He actually added another wife, and that the name was, he had his first son Agbedo by his first wife Etuhun, betrothed to him by Ovorame. And later, another son, Gaius Ikoba se Yemen, that's the full name, Ikoba se Yemen, by another wife, Edugi, also given to him by the Oba. This son later became an Iyase of Benin, like his father in his time. So, we have established that even the house, the first house I ever had in Benin, Oba Yane, alright, Oba Yane. So, his two wives, no be Ikoba se Edugi, we Etuhun, Oba Yane. We are listening, essay Yane, no, so that let them show one essay near the royal house. Let them bring one favor from history, from historical book near the royal house, according to Godwin. So let's go to page 68 to 69. Let's still on Benin City Pilgrimage Center. The Arewa. A nice one. No, let's leave that part. That was not too important. Let's go to page 84 to 86. Let's go to page 84 to 86. This is the most important part. Alright, this is the most important part. Very important. So let's go. Let's read together. Page 84 to 86 by Benin City Pilgrimage Center. Alright? Let's find out. The principle has always once been seriously challenged in Benin since the last 300 years. That's the principle of primogeniture. Father to first son. That's what he was saying, because, you know, I'm not reading from the beginning. So I don't have all the time. So those who have the book can go and read it, because Dr. Aisha was making reference to what traveled during the time of Obaya Wakbe. So that's why he's starting. The principle has always once been seriously challenged in Benin since the last 300 years. This happened during the colonial era. The effort, which was quite determined, was a clear departure from and an attempted repudiation of Ewakbe enactment. It was hashed and promoted by the British colonial resident of Benin Province, Mr. James Watt. Now, please, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, those names called James Watt, Memia Fone, James Watt, we need to remove James Watt, where the people not Zagedo using Agho Obaseki. Now, James Watt ought not to exist in Benin Kingdom anymore. We have to do a protest. The likes of Cooks Road, Naite Cook Road, James Watt, Plymouth. These were the people, most especially James Watt. These were the people that brought the kingdom to their knees, and they still have a street named after them in the heart of Benin City. We have to change that. We have to change that. We have to change that, old woman. Mr. James Watt, when he unsuccessfully pushed an at first reticent Chiefs Obaseki candidacy forward for the Benin throne at the demands of Obavorami in Eze and Calabar early in 1914. The reasoning was that the colonial resident of the sister province of Warri had his chief Dohu Numan. Alright? Dohu Numan. The fulcrum on which the native administration of Warri province turned at the time, Jeswant in turn desired to retain his own Doronuma of Benin Province, in the person of Chief Agho, the Obaseki of Benin, in the administration of the native affairs of Benin Province. It is true that Chief Dohonuma, the Shekiri chief who was so important in the running of the native aspect of the administration of Warri Province during the first 3 decades of colonialism in Nigeria, and who died in 1932, played some role in the resolution of the succession struggle for the Benin throne in 1914 between the Crown Prince Agho Obaseki and Chief Agho, the Obaseki, but his role was peripheral and dispensable because a firm decision on the matter had already been taken before Doho arrived on the scene. What Dr. Aisha Hagosa is saying that it was Doho Roma that was invited to also be to mediate between the crisis that was happening. But however, the matter had already been resolved. That matter had already, even before Doho came. Now, not knowing that, Agho had traveled to see Dorenuma in Warri district to bribe him. Alright, he bribe Dorenuma no day because he heard, because he was a friend of the British. He had heard that one of the person who is going to mediate on this matter will be Dohonuma. So now I get a bribe on it. I'm going to read it now. You're going to see. On I bribe on it. On I no ni go in favor of him. Na me oba. But before ni kere, his fate had already been decided. The meeting at which his fate was decided is stated in Igba first work. So we're going to go back to Igba first work and look at where that fate was determined before Dohonuma come. But let's continue. All right. Chief Dohonuma arrived in Benin probably during the first half of April 1914 through Saple, the Benin-Saple Road, which construction had been embarked upon by the new Lagos government in place of the more ambitious. I don't want to run through any tangle. Though entered no, those are too long. Okay. The Shekiri chief had a meeting with all the Benin chiefs. The venue was Chief Obaseki's palatial residence, the Ogbe Obaseki by the Uzebu Moat, crossing at the western end of Urogotodin High Street. The two contestants for the throne. Look at it, oh. The two contestants. And it was see me here. The throne. The two contestants. Okay. The two contestants for the throne, Crown Prince Agho Obaseki and the Obaseki, the host of the meeting, were in attendance. So I do assume. Don't also forget, I will also read that a letter that Crown Prince Agho Obaseki wrote to King George. King George no bunyeri that Obaseki and me and throne. We are all going to read that from Igba first work. Yes, he wrote. Agho Obaseki had to write to King George in England, had to write to Oni of Ife, had to write to I think Emir of Kanu, had to write to prominent traditional rulers. We are going to read that from Igba first work. All right, but let me proceed. Okay, the host of the meeting were in attendance. The findings of the commission of inquiry into the matter in dispute, probably the one conducted by Colonel H.C. Morehouse at the instance of Governor General Lugard, were already on hand. Doe had a copy of the report, probably handed to him by the colonial officers in Benin. He asked a clerk who was in attendance at the meeting to read out the conclusion of the report. The findings confirmed that the Obaship of Benin was hereditary, passing from father to eldest son. Rhetorically, Doe asked the assembled Benin chiefs whether they were in agreement with the commission's findings. The chiefs confirmed that the conclusion represented indeed the true position of things. After this affirmation from the chiefs, Doe repetitiously pronounced in favor of Agho Obaseki, taking care to be seen to be working in tandem with the government on the matter. Doe then informed the assembled chiefs, listen, Doe then informed the assembled chiefs that Chief Obaseki had brought him 200 pounds sterling. 200 pounds sterling. 200 pounds sterling. Listen, Doe, the Shekiri chief, then informed the assembled chiefs that Chief Obaseki had brought him 200 pounds sterling. He would keep the money, he said. After all, he was from the Benin royal family. being a descendant of Izinwa Obaoluwa's first son. He was therefore deserving of a gift from Chief Obaseki, which gift should probably be regarded as a moha, a sustenance item for the Benin royalty. I will explain that one. It was said that when he arrived home, the Shekiris conferred on Chief Doho Numa a praise name for his success on his Benin trip. As serious and as menacing as this Obaseki episode was, the attempt was not able to upstage the Ewakbe enactment made 200 years earlier. The enactment held that such was his resilience and the depth of his root in the culture of the people. Obavorame's acknowledged Ederson succeeded him to the throne of his father. Now, give me a guy need to your bribe, when guy ni 200 past sterling. Not take Gwev in favor of him and making Arioba. All right, or if failing, the Ichekiri chief also now came out and said that a guy not take only 200 pounds sterling. He only again that he only or that never za, he only be yaza that money or be yaza that being that Oviedo you him by ancestry. So again bribing money, Obaseki do you more as a prince or Benin in his own right. Do you understand that he won't be yaza? So now someone who paid 200 pounds sterling for a case to be in favor of him, his great grandson, 120 years later or so, came out and is telling the Benin people that without his own great grandfather, they will not have been Oba today. The man who wanted to destroy the kingdom, his great grandson, 120 years or so later, is coming to tell the Benin people, of which he wanted to destroy, that without his own great grandfather, that kingdom wouldn't have survived. It is an irony. It is an irony. We are not done. Let's go to Igbafe. Let's go to Igbafe. Gary Igbafe. Am I done? Let's go back to Igbafe. Let's start from page 23, 24, 23 or 24 25 yarrow. Then there's a page 20, there's a page 18 to page 20. Okay, page 19 is okay. On that Ibafe's work on page 18, this is what was written. The way the opposition, you can go and get it, page 18. The way the opposition went to work was to begin a secret movement. Now, let me explain, because all of these things are going to take time if I keep reading it verbatim. Now, in 1906, something happened. Agho Obaseki started planning a coup against, Agho Obaseki as a prince started planning a coup against the British. They wanted to find a way to take back the throne. They wanted to find a way to fight for what he was looking for, a way to find it. So he started lobbying people across. He started a movement. So he was able to bring a lot of chiefs into it. They convinced them. They all keyed into it. And I mobilized. And I mobilized so that to take back our throne. So there was actually, the Benins at that time actually wanted to fight for the throne. So they were mobilizing, headed by Agho Obaseki. They were mobilizing. They were was mobilizing and mobilizing and mobilizing and mobilizing and mobilizing. Then I made a mistake. This event happened in 1906. Then I made a mistake. What was the mistake? Then I went to tell Godwin Obaseki. They now went to tell Agho Obaseki. When they told him, Agho now sat down and said that if Obavorame returns, Akpa ne bomu yegbe because he was not the most respected chief. He was not more of like a king. He was going to lose it. Do you understand? The Benin's are mobilized. They are strategized. Are mobilized. Even I had a great takeover back the kingdom. I know you people have never heard this story. It happened in 1906. They have fully mobilized. When I had taken back the kingdom here. But what happened? Then I invited Obaseki that, do they by man? Ovorame is your best friend. Ovorame in Calabar. Let's find a way to take back our kingdom and bring back our royal father from Calabar so that he can take back his throne. They thought they were talking to a confidant, a friend of Ovorame. What now happened? What now happened? You people listen. Page 20. And so Obaseki refused to join. Having refused to join, he and three other chiefs, three other chiefs, Olele Duzani, Obanyangbon, Iyamu, and Ayobahan, informed. Listen, if this is not a betrayer, I have said several betrayer. This is another betrayer. The Benis have not strategized. We have gathered how to go and bring our royal father back so that he can come and sit on the throne. So I'm not doing inform Obaseki, but when Obaseki go home, he waited that all the favor, all the largesse is not enjoying for a white man. He had to lose once of Ovorame who has. I've told you all the things that Ovorame did for this guy. Be the judge of this matter. Then I informed him. After they informed him, he went to bring three other chiefs. They now went. Look at what Igbafe wrote. He said, having refused to join, he and three other chiefs, Obanyangbon, Iyamu, and Ayoba, informed the district commissioner about the movement. The British reacted quickly. Troops were poured into Benin in September 1906, and all the villages concerned once more submitted. Tribute which had not been paid, because you might have paid tribute to Gebo, because the tribute in here mobilized when I had a big takeover. The tribute which had not been paid was not paid, and what looked like a political rebellion was crushed. This act, is it sustaining of the throne or betraying the throne? I didn't say it. It's page 20 of Igbafe's work on Agho Obaseki, called Agho Obaseki. But my folk, who are what for now? I that's when I time 12 o'clock. I so boy. But my me who are what for now? What are you for? You listen. Or seven. He said we should. He said we should fact check him. How many betrayers have I brought out? Is it not up to 3 already? 23. Oh, my laptop battery, and I need this laptop. I need this laptop. There are some facts. No real laptop in that. Laptop do not mess me up. Then he plug it. It do anyone. Yeah. Huh? Okay. This page 23. Okay. This page 23, 24, then 25. Okay, 23, 24, 25. Okay. Let's also look at some things here. Okay. You know, when I was reading from Dr. Aisha Ekhagosa's book, you know, I thought about the Honuma. That before the Honuma had come, one I bribed with 200 pounds sterling. You people remember what I've just said. When the Honuma has gotten to be, that's when the Honuma realized that the case Niate to judge Agwezonine. Remember I talked about it. In other Ezoni Nagwini in favor of Agho Obaseki. Igbafe talked about it. Now this is what I want to read, and I want you to pay attention To me, I Agho on here. Then I Agho on here. James Watt, this is page 23, so I cannot read everything. James Watt did not immediately take a decision. He summoned Agho Obaseki, Chief Son, Chief Ezomo, Chief Agho, and Obaseki. So the meeting that brought the comments back, here I say, or do a meeting, Agho Obaseki, Obaseki, Chief Agho, Chief Ezomo, and Chief Son. They were 5. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you another breaking news. It was not only Agho or betray Bini people. Ezomo with the bar. Oh, God damn it. Ezomo with the bar. What Ezomo the bar. They should go and contest with book. They should leave Izoduwa. I don't do propaganda, I do fact. All right. Now, when we are also recommending and clapping for people who stood for the transition, when you call Agho, Chief Agho, also be calling Chief Son. Please, Son should be added to the hero of this land. Son of that time stood with his king. You'll find that now. James Watt did not immediately take a decision. He summoned Agho Obaseki, Son, Ezomo, Agho, and together with Obaseki to yet another interview to discuss the situation. Surprisingly, this time Obaseki answered in response to the question of who should be Oba, because he was asked who's supposed to be the Oba, and he was prepared to do anything the commissioner directed. So in anything Nebotama, he was ready to do it, as far as giving the power. He's given the throne. He was backed by Ezomo. So Ezomo supported our Nori Obaseki. Ezomo supported him. So he was backed by Ezomo, who said that even, look at how worse. He thought Ezomo was more terrible than our Obaseki. Look at what Dario. Ezomo of that time. When Ezomo of that time, Omabe Yoko, you know, I've always complained about that Ezomo. Okay, when Ezomo ni Mabe Yoko. Now look at what this Ezomo said. Another verse is Agho. Look at what he said. He was backed by Ezomo, who said that even if the commissioner decided that a woman should become the Oba, he would be ready to accept such an Oba. What the Ezomo? Ezomo of that time said, James Watt. Na ya mu na Agho Obaseki. Amu no ho. Nyekuyo. Unezomo redo. Unezomo redo. Even in Ayamu na Agho Obaseki. Gwa gamu no hu opa na Ayamu na Agho Obaseki. Yeri anything e boriri kai. Yeri obobai. You understand? He was backed by Ezomo, who said that even if the commissioner decided that the woman should become the Oba, he would be ready to accept such an Oba. Chief Agho and Son, however, stuck hard for tradition. Only the late Oba's eldest son, he should be, only the late Oba's eldest son, he told the commissioner, could become the Oba. Son and Agho were standing. Son and Agho were standing. They stood their ground of your banodion or your back.